All right, welcome. Today we are unpacking a seriously fascinating and honestly highly dramatic dynamic presented in the Nigerian film Me Over Us. We're going to dive right into the core narrative of this story and really dissect how it explores that super fragile intersection of love, corporate hierarchy, and of course, human ego. It's an absolutely compelling case study on what actually happens when the lines between our professional titles and our personal vows become dangerously blurred. So, picture this. Can your marriage actually survive if your spouse is also your boss? It's a powerful and honestly highly relatable scenario, isn't it? Bringing workplace power dynamics into your living room is basically a recipe for disaster. I mean, we spend so much of our lives at work, and when the person signing your paycheck or evaluating your performance is the exact same person you share a bed with, well, the boundaries of respect and authority get tested in ways you can't even imagine. This explainer is going to look at exactly what happens when those boundaries collapse entirely. Okay, let's get into our first section, Boss in the Bedroom. So, the story centers around a married couple, Ruth and Ryan. Ruth is this fiercely dedicated project manager who is all about results and company policy. Ryan, her husband, actually works directly underneath her. And then, a massive crisis hits. An electrician literally makes off with 20 million naira worth of company goods on Ryan's watch. Ruth immediately goes into full-on corporate mode. She publicly scolds him exactly like she would any failing employee. But Ryan? He's a husband desperately seeking some respect, emotional support, and maybe a little grace from his life partner. He is completely unable to separate his wife's professional anger from personal rejection. There's this beautifully poetic line of dialogue that perfectly captures the exact moment their relationship sours. It goes, "Two people lost in power, forgetting love takes time." And it's so true. They just stop listening to each other. They stop asking how the other feels. Instead, they begin trading tenderness for control day by silent day. Ruth demands to be treated like a boss at home, and Ryan demands to be treated like a husband at work. Both of them are just stubbornly digging their heels in, completely losing sight of their actual marriage.
Which brings us to our next part, pride and resentment. When two people prioritize their own pride over their partnership, well, resentment is the only natural byproduct. You can literally map out this rapid domino effect. It starts with Ruth publicly scolding Ryan. Feeling completely humiliated and stripped of his dignity, he just abruptly resigns from the company without any backup plan whatsoever. He chooses unemployment over working for his wife. Then, as Ryan tries to get back on his feet, Ruth denies him the use of her car for a job interview, basically punishing him for quitting. And the ultimate blow comes when Ruth flat out refuses to have a child with him. She cites her career peak and points out that she's the one footing all the bills and paying off his debts. Every single interaction becomes a toxic battleground for superiority.
And then, bam, we hit the boiling point. Ryan, feeling entirely stripped of his masculinity and authority, lashes out with a really painful admission. By calling Ruth the temporary breadwinner, he highlights his deep, deep feelings of emasculation. He feels that Ruth is leveraging her financial power and professional success to control their entire future, just holding him down to make him feel small. He's financially dependent, and she is absolutely not letting him forget it.
So what's next? The illusion of escape. You know, when a home becomes a war zone, human nature usually seeks a way out. Enter Kenna. She's a ridiculously wealthy client who ends up fainting outside the office, and Ryan plays the Good Samaritan by helping her. Well, Kenna immediately provides the exact validation Ryan is starving for. She showers him with sympathy over his job situation, she compliments his masculinity, even going so far as to tell him he has beautiful hands, and eventually offers him a highly lucrative job. Completely starved for respect, Ryan falls into an affair with Kenna. He ultimately uses this newfound superficial confidence to ask Ruth for a divorce.
But here's the reality check. The harsh truth eventually comes out. Ryan has this moment of profound realization, and he admits, "I was looking for somebody to massage my ego." His betrayal wasn't born out of some genuine, deep love for Kenna. No, it was simply a desperate search for external validation. He was broken, he felt like a failure, and he just sought out the very first person who made him feel important and powerful again. And this leads right into a dangerous twist. Okay, so this isn't just your run-of-the-mill workplace stress leading to infidelity. It comes with a terrifying psychological twist. Kenna's caregiver actually tracks Ryan down to warn him that Kenna is dangerously unstable. According to this caregiver, Kenna was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder after attempting to kill an ex-partner. She was institutionalized and now literally fakes illnesses, like that fainting spell, just to gain sympathy and lure victims in. The caregiver warns Ryan that trying to leave Kenna could quite literally sign his or his wife's death warrant. Ryan unwittingly stepped into a lethal trap just to get his ego stroked.
Finally, Ryan is forced to take some real accountability. When Kenneth shows up at his house screaming that he belongs to her and threatening to hunt him and his wife down, Ryan stands his ground at the gate. He firmly kicks her off his property. He chooses to fiercely protect his home and face the messy, difficult reality of his marriage to Ruth, rather than continuing to hide in the terrifying illusion of Kenna's affection.
Let's look at the takeaways in Lessons on Love and Ego.
The core lessons we can pull from this dramatic case study are incredibly grounded. First off, leave workplace hierarchy at the office. You absolutely cannot manage your spouse like an employee in your living room. Furthermore, a successful partnership requires prioritizing mutual respect over the desperate need to be right or to assert dominance. And lastly, we really have to beware the trap of seeking easy escapes. When things get hard, external validation might feel great in the moment, but as Ryan learned the hard way, it often comes with devastating hidden costs.
Thankfully, there's actually a path forward here, through accountability. The resolution sees both characters completely drop their pride. Ryan sincerely apologizes for his infidelity and for seeking that external validation just to soothe his bruised ego. Ruth, in turn, apologizes for disrespecting him, emasculating him, and prioritizing her power trip over their wedding vows. They ask for forgiveness, and the story beautifully concludes with them discovering they're 4 weeks pregnant. They are finally looking forward to a brand new chapter as true partners.
So, to wrap this explainer up, I want to leave you with a powerful reflection. Think about your own relationships, your own pride, and your own ego. What would you prioritize? Being right or being in love? Because as we've seen from this story, holding on to power and control can cost you absolutely everything that actually matters. Thanks so much for joining me today, and keep learning.